We don't want to waste a lot of time building up a long intro, but yeah, here's your spoiler warning for The Boys Season 4 in its entirety. Now, if you've watched the show, you know that Starlight lost and gained her powers, but what changed? How did she get her powers back? Well, that's what we're here to find out, but before that, we'd like to quickly take you through her insanely increased powers and the reasons behind them. We think it has something to do with solar energy, but it's anybody's guess right now, so before we get into the heart of our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The workings of Starlight's power set. Before we get into how Starlight gained her powers, it would make sense to explore how her powers actually work. Starlight basically absorbs electricity from everything around her. This lets her unleash some serious light shows, which can leave people blind if they're unfortunate enough to be too close. However, there has been some degree of inconsistency as far as this is concerned, because Starlight has used her powers on people before Huey and A-Train, but they didn't lose sight. Anyway, she can generate blinding blasts of light, and when she powers up, she literally glows. There doesn't seem to be a cap on how much juice she can take in, which means her power levels could be off the charts. In fact, the finale of Season 4 is proof she can do some pretty incredible things, including flying at super speed. Now, about this, we think Starlight is finally giving meaning to her name, absorbing the visible or invisible spectrum of radiation from the nearest star there is, aka the sun. In the end, Homelander sends Cindy to take care of Huey and Starlight, but the latter charges herself up and zooms away. There just wasn't enough electricity to absorb from her surroundings. I mean, all she had were car batteries. So does this mean she's finally managed to tap into solar radiation like Superman? We're going to talk more about this when we explore why she got her powers and its repercussions, but as far as her physical strength is concerned, Starlight has stood toe-to-toe with heavy hitters like Stormfront and Black Noir, and even though she's wary of Homelander, and I mean, who wouldn't be? The guy's an absolute maniac, but apart from him, she holds her own in superhero fights. Beyond her light tricks, she's got the usual suit package: strength, stamina, durability, and quick healing, all independent of her electrical abilities. Interestingly, it turns out that Starlight can do a great deal of things even when she's depowered. I mean, she did beat the crap out of Firecracker with her bare fists and no light shows.
So you finally came to
What powers her powers? Annie January, aka Starlight, had a pretty unique childhood, soaked in love, laughter, and a deep religious faith. These are the things that cemented her psyche and helped her to become a confident young woman, but it wasn't all pure and simple. When she was just a kid, her super religious parents signed her up for a deal with Vought. They injected her with Compound V, turning her into a suit. Her folks painted her powers as divine gifts, but really, it was all a lab experiment. Her dad eventually couldn't handle the guilt and left his wife and daughter, but Starlight didn't know that, and she continued to believe that her powers were God-given because her mother continued to live the lie in all of its shameful glory. The truth did eventually come out. All soups are made, not born. But there's something more to Starlight. Despite the murky origins of her powers and her morally objectionable moments like wrecking a young Firecracker's career, she emerged as a beacon of hope in her twisted world. Surrounded by corruption and downright villainy, Starlight shines as a symbol of what could be, influenced perhaps by her deeply ingrained sense of righteousness thanks to her upbringing. She's more than just her powers. She's a symbol, a standout in a dark world. How did Starlight lose her powers? In Season 4, Annie January went through a lot of ordeals that wrecked her mind and ultimately her powers. The root of it all is basically a mix of personal turmoil and shaken beliefs. As the usual voice of reason, she was struggling emotionally this time around. Things got ugly when Firecracker, egged on by Sister Sage, launched some deeply personal attacks, and the worst of it all was the fact that Starlight had an abortion. Coming from a Catholic background, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's one thing to deal with an abortion privately, but having it blasted in public, that's a whole nother level of trauma, especially when you're being mocked on live TV and you come from a deeply pro-life family. Your personal choices are thrown down the gutter and you're expected to do what's expected of you. Nothing more, nothing less. Upon hearing all these things being said about her, Starlight lost her cool and beat Firecracker to a pulp, that too on live television. She totally ditched her usual composed self for raw impulse, but this just isn't who she is. She started to feel like she had become someone else. A better way to put it would be that she wasn't able to accept her true identity and choices because she still believed that she was what her mother and society wanted her to be. It's an internal super battle between Annie and Starlight. In fact, even Victoria Newman says the same during the whole carnivorous sheep shenanigans episode. Starlight needed to unlearn all those things she learned as a child. This identity crisis did more damage to her than a barrage from Homelander, plus her public image took a major hit, adding more stress. And to make matters worse, Huey, her main support, was out of the picture dealing with his own family issues and the fiasco with Hugh Campbell Sr. It seems similar to what happened to Thor in the MCU, where he had to become worthy again of holding Mjolnir. He had to find his true self amidst all the bad things that happened to him. He kinda got the support he wanted from his mother, but Starlight's support system came as a blessing in disguise, a very relatable disguise. How did she get her powers back? Well, the shapeshifter kidnaps Starlight and pretends to be her. She even gets engaged with Huey and whatnot, and all this while, Starlight is being held hostage. In the last episode, we learned more about the shapeshifter's powers, and it seems that she needs to physically touch the person she's pretending to be at regular intervals. The fake Starlight skin was breaking apart, and she had to get a recharge, so she went to her hostage. Here, the two of them have a conversation where the shapeshifter tells Starlight how her identity crisis and her belief that whatever she did was justified when it actually wasn't was messing with her powers. Later on, Starlight gets the strength to break free of her restraints, albeit not through blasting the chains off. Starlight shows up just in time to rescue President-elect Singer and the others. She beats the pretender Starlight's ass before admitting that she really didn't know who she was or if she was a hero or not, but she did know she was beating the shapeshifter's ass. That was a newfound confidence that Starlight developed. She now embraced the fact that it was okay to be a bit confused about things as long as she strived to find her way. In a conversation with Huey, she agrees that she's depressed and effed up and comes with many complications, but he assures her that all these things are what made Starlight, Starlight. Now that someone as close as Huey was appreciating her for being who she was, she didn't have to pretend any longer. Now, she could totally be who she was and own it. This is what fixed her wrecked mind and confidence, thereby fixing her identity crisis. And that's how Stella got her groove back. I mean, that's how Starlight got her powers back, and more. Starlight just outdid herself and became the most powerful version of herself. When Cindy and the armed men came to take Huey and Starlight, in terms of electricity, all there was around were a couple of car batteries from the two vehicles and an electric pole nearby. Even if Starlight absorbed all of it, it couldn't possibly be enough for her to zoom through the air like she did with such great speed. Clearly, she's learned to tap into another source of power, and our best guess is that it's sunlight. Her name is Starlight. It would only make sense if she used the sun's rays to power herself. Now, if this is true, it changes everything. She could become as strong as Homelander or even stronger. I mean, she could pretty much fly faster than Homelander, and we know that she's got the muscles in addition to being cute, adorable, and a badass. Starlight is the only boys member who has managed to stay free from Homelander and his men. Of course, Butcher is another exception, but he's gone rogue, and we don't even think we can call him a member of the boys anymore. Having said that, we can't deny the possibility of a marriage of convenience between Butcher and Starlight. They do have at least one similar goal: stopping Homelander and saving America from the despotic rule of a soup fascist. Starlight chose to save Huey another time, but she'll definitely return for him and the others. So where has she gone? My guess is to Sedona to save her mother. When she takes care of that, she would immediately return to help her friends. Maybe she would even team up with other soups like A-Train, Queen Maeve, and the kids from Godalkin who were captured at the end of Gen V. It seems like Gen V's second season is going to tie directly into the fifth and final season of The Boys, but what do you think is going to happen? Let us know in the comments section down below, and if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. This is Wheezy249 signing off, but you can always find me on Twitch. In the meantime, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.